I like the competitiveness of it. I like the challenge. I like when people just assume I'm just a girl and can't hang with the boys. But then when they get through playing against me, they realize that I'm more than just a girl. This girl can play. I'm Janae Walker Macklin from England, Arkansas, population 2,500 people. This is the England High School basketball gym. This was my life. I mean, I pretty much spent almost every day here. Practice in the morning, practice in the evening. I mean, running, just all the time here. My favorite sound in the world is if I can close my eyes and I hear, like on a freshly clean basketball court, and I hear the shoes screeching across the floor. You couldn't hear, you hear the screeching of it. And to me, there's movement there. It's not stagnant. I love that sound.
Janae didn't just play basketball with other kids her age. She always played with adults. Right. So that made her so tough. And I remember her dad coming in the house one day saying, he said, Trisha, I have to play her like she's a man. I cannot play Janae like she's a kid. He said, girl, she will beat me if I let her play like she's a kid. He said, I have to play her like she's an adult. We tried to instill in her that the Lord comes first, then school, then basketball. So she did that. She went on to get a full scholarship. She went on to play basketball. Her dream came true.
Went to college, played all 4 years there, got my degree, decided I wasn't quite done yet and wanted to play more. My first team I went to was in Switzerland. When I left from there, I ended up going to Spain. I played in South America, I played in the States, in the Tulsa, and I played in Atlanta. I played in Ecuador, which is South America, and then of course I played in a lot of summer leagues here. I tell people I made it very far, but if I could have done it all over, I would have worked out harder. I mentored to this basketball team, which is kind of like an AAU team, but they do a lot of mentoring too because they want girls to get scholarships, stay focused on just school in general and put boys on the back burner. I want them to know that girls can be just impactful in life as boys. What you see here, I said, that's a whole lot of years of practice, or a whole lot of years. I mean, they see me, most of the time I'm in my dress and heels. That's what people know me as. This is a work in progress that got me to where I needed to be. I said, so I just tell them success isn't overnight. It's a continuous work ethic that you have to put in place every day. Every parent should put their kid in some type of sport, preferably a team. They don't have to be great. They don't have to be the next Michael Jordan or Nancy Lieberman or whatever, but they need to be part of a team because to me, this teaches you how to work with the team, how to communicate with the team. Listening to a coach can also correlate to being able to speak with your boss. Just understanding being on time, punctuality is very important. Being a routine, doing something over and over again. That's, in my industry, these things are very important. I'm always going to think outside the box to get to where I need to go when some people just quit. And so I usually don't have a quit bone in me because I hate to fail. I hate to fail, I hate to fail. And a lot of times I'm not money motivated at all. I'm more motivated by just completing a task or just when someone say I can't do something, just showing them that I can. I wouldn't be where I am today without basketball because to me it's more than a game. I learned things about just telling the truth or just being honest or being able to speak out or be a leader. I learned all that through sports, which I don't think I could have learned just without being an athlete. I like the competitiveness of it. I like the challenge. I like when people just assume I'm just a girl and can't hang with the boys. But then when they get through playing against me, they realize that I'm more than just a girl. This girl can play. I'm Janae Walker Macklin from England, Arkansas, population 2,500 people. This is the England High School basketball gym. This was my life. I mean, I pretty much spent almost every day here. Practice in the morning, practice in the evening. I mean, running, just all the time here. My favorite sound in the world is if I can close my eyes and I hear, like on a freshly clean basketball court, and I hear the shoes screeching across the floor. You couldn't hear, you hear the screeching of it. And to me, there's movement there. It's not stagnant. I love that sound.
Janae didn't just play basketball with other kids her age. She always played with adults. Right. So that made her so tough. And I remember her dad coming in the house one day saying, he said, Trisha, I have to play her like she's a man. I cannot play Janae like she's a kid. He said, girl, she will beat me if I let her play like she's a kid. He said, I have to play her like she's an adult. We tried to instill in her that the Lord comes first, then school, then basketball. So she did that. She went on to get a full scholarship. She went on to play basketball. Her dream came true.
Went to college, played all 4 years there, got my degree, decided I wasn't quite done yet and wanted to play more. My first team I went to was in Switzerland. When I left from there, I ended up going to Spain. I played in South America, I played in the States, in the Tulsa, and I played in Atlanta. I played in Ecuador, which is South America, and then of course I played in a lot of summer leagues here. I tell people I made it very far, but if I could have done it all over, I would have worked out harder. I mentored to this basketball team, which is kind of like an AAU team, but they do a lot of mentoring too because they want girls to get scholarships, stay focused on just school in general and put boys on the back burner. I want them to know that girls can be just impactful in life as boys. What you see here, I said, that's a whole lot of years of practice, a whole lot of years. I mean, they see me, most of the time I'm in my dress and heels. That's what people know me as. This is a work in progress that got me to where I needed to be. I said, so I just tell them success isn't overnight. It's a continuous work ethic that you have to put in place every day. Every parent should put their kid in some type of sport, preferably a team. They don't have to be great. They don't have to be the next Michael Jordan or Nancy Lieberman or whatever, but they need to be part of a team because to me, this teaches you how to work with the team, how to communicate with the team. Listening to a coach can also correlate to being able to speak with your boss. Just understanding being on time, punctuality is very important. Being a routine, doing something over and over again. That's, in my industry, these things are very important. I'm always going to think outside the box to get to where I need to go when some people just quit. And so I usually don't have a quit bone in me because I hate to fail. I hate to fail. And a lot of times I'm not money motivated at all. I'm more motivated by just completing a task or just when someone say I can't do something, just showing them that I can. I wouldn't be where I am today without basketball because to me it's more than a game. I learned things about just telling the truth or just being honest or being able to speak out or be a leader. I learned all that through sports, which I don't think I could have learned just without being an athlete.
All right. Well, you have gotten to see a brief snapshot of our guest speaker today, Ms. Janae Walker, but let me start by introducing myself. I am Judge Raquel Rocky Jones. I am the presiding judge of the 203rd Judicial District Court here in Dallas County. And I thought it was very important to bring this topic to my church, Community Missionary Baptist Church. So welcome everybody out there in the virtual world, as well as all those who are present, because this is very important about what money does matter. It matters in business, life, and of course, we started with sports. So you've got to see a little bit about Miss Janae Walker. I will tell you how she came into my life is I had to take a leap of faith. As she kind of talked about in her video, that there are some things that we don't always do in the norm. We think outside the box. So I decided to leave my job of being a prosecutor for 19 years and run for judge. And she happened to come to one of my events. And we got to talking, and as a matter of fact, it was the DA event. And we started talking, and she was like, you know what? I think I want to get to know you more. And you're like, okay, how some people say they're going to be your friend. And you go, how's she going to tell me she's going to be my friend? So anyway, we started talking about what she does. We meet over lunch. And she was the type of person that, as you heard her say in the video, she's not all about money. So she knew what, as we say, my portfolio looked like, right? And she was honest enough to say, you know what? My services can do this, or what you have works for you. And not just say, I'm gonna try to take money from you and get over on you. So I will, as you saw a little bit of her background, she's from a very small town in Arkansas. But I wanna tell you a few things that you might not know about Ms. Walker. So first of all, she went to Central Arkansas College. I had to ask her, where exactly is that it? So it's about an hour outside of Little Rock, but the claim to fame to Central Arkansas is that Scottie Pippen went to that school. So who played for the Bulls, who's in the Hall of Fame, who would have thought he went to Central Arkansas? But not only while Janae was there, she actually got a degree. So her degree is in math. Who does that, right? So she has a degree, a bachelor's in math, but she also has her master's in health science. But here is a little known fact that I had to question her about today. She actually is fluent in Spanish. So I was like, really? Well, of course, those years that she played in Spain helped bring that about as well. So without further ado, I would like to bring up Miss Janae Walker. She is a financial advisor, and as you will see from her height when she stands next to me, she is a former player for the WNBA. Miss Janae Walker.
Look at that. Just a little bit taller.
Just a little bit.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. So yes, most people, they nickname me the money girl because I'm the person they're going to tell you what to do. I'm very frugal, so a lot of people say that I try to tell them, dissuade them from spending money or finding ways to use it on something else. I love couponing, so I'm all about some coupons or finding discounts. But thank you for the introduction. As she said, I'm an Arkansas girl through and through, country. We had a lot of rice fields, bean fields, cotton fields. Well, not a lot to do with 2,500 people. So I made do with what we had. And so I love school and I love basketball. And so I kind of just put the two together. I had two brothers. And then I was majority all boys in our neighborhood. So I played a lot of sports, all sports, baseball, basketball, football, everything. My first love was actually baseball and softball. And then once I learned basketball, maybe when I was 8 or 9, then that kind of just took over. But I wanted to do everything my brother could do. Everything he did, I wanted to do until I started doing it better. And then he went on to something else. My mom, I'm sure, wanted a girly girl, like I was telling Rocky, because she wanted this girl that she can cook with. You know, all them Southern women know how to cook and all that. And she wanted somebody to wear dresses and all these things. And I was just like, no. I don't think I wore my first dress consistently till I was maybe 30. And I didn't wear my first heels till I was like 24. So I was late bloomer, all the girl stuff. So as a result, I can't cook, but it's okay. I'm a good taste tester on a lot of things. But went through school, knew I loved basketball. When I got ready to graduate high school, I had all type of offers. My first offer came to Baylor, which my dad still brings up and still mad that I didn't go to Baylor. He tells me I could have been on the championship team if I would have not tried to stay close to home.
But I had all these offers, but I chose to stay in University of Central Arkansas because my cousin coached there, and then I wanted to stay close to home, and then I had a boyfriend, all these things. So I try to tell girls and boys, never pick a school because of relationship, because we broke up 2 months into the school year, and then that was it. But I made a commitment, so I stayed there, played all 4 years, All-American, got a lot of awards, had a lot of great time, met a lot of people. I majored in math because I knew I couldn't play basketball forever. At that time, I thought I could, but I knew consciously that I couldn't play sports forever, so I needed something to fall back on. I didn't want to be a teacher. I didn't want to be a coach. Nothing against those professions, I just know me. I just wasn't going to have the attention span to do it. And my coach actually tried to dissuade me from majoring in math because he felt like it was too difficult for me to have to handle as well as my basketball, because you're missing a lot of school, you're coming in late, and I mean, you could just imagine how hard those classes, Calculus 1, Calculus 2, Calculus 3, differential equations. I didn't even know what half the stuff they were talking about in class. I was just there. But I befriended a lot of smart people in those classes, and a lot of them, majority was foreign or guys, and they helped me through. They really did, and so that was the only reason I made it through, but I knew I needed something to fall back on. While I was in school too, they offered an associate's in Spanish. So I said, I don't know if I ever will use this. I said, but might as well get it while it's available. And so, but we did conversation, but you really can't speak Spanish well unless you're in the culture. So I learned a lot of written and writing. And so that came in handy later on down the line. And so went 4 years, graduated. I was working in banking. And then my mom, she's not a sports person, so my mom didn't care whether I played basketball or baseball. She actually would drop me off at my practices or my games and just tell me to call her when it's over, because she didn't too much care for sports. So when I told her that I was thinking about playing more basketball afterwards, she was like, "Why?" She said, Girls don't get paid money to play sports. And she said, "You don't want to just work?" She said, "Aren't you done chasing that basketball?" And I said, "Well," and I told her I really wasn't. I kind of wanted to do more because I was 22 years old and I just still wanted to play basketball. And so I started researching, and I got an agent. And I went to his camp he had in Boston. And mind you, I was doing all this research and everything on my own because I didn't have anyone else to reference. Nobody else I knew that was a woman played professional basketball or tried. Nobody I knew had an agent. So I was just doing a lot of, I guess, Google research on my own. And I ended up getting my first offer to play in Switzerland. And so I was working in a bank when I did it, and it was called Arvest Bank. And it's actually a bank that Jim Walton, that's the owner of Walmart's, his kid, he actually owned. And so I was doing well there, and I got my offer, and I had to leave like in August. And so I put a 3-week notice in, and they liked me, and they told me I can come back the next summer when my contract ended. So I said, okay. So I'm building relationships, making a footprint. And then I told my mom, like, "Mom, I got this contract. I'm going to Switzerland. It's 7.5, 8 months long. They're going to pay for this, that, and that." And she just started crying and praying, just instantly crying and praying that someone's going to kidnap me. She's never going to see me again. All these bad things is going to happen. And I tried to calm her down, but I was thinking in the back of my mind, I hope these things don't happen because I've never been to another country, and I'm a country girl, so I have no idea what to expect. And no one was going with me. It wasn't like in some situation, I think some parents probably would have went with you, but not my mom. She was not going to go. So I had to figure it out on my own. So I did some research, and I think I was overpacked and everything. But I went to Switzerland, and they spoke French. I wasn't prepared for that. They had me in French class like 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. That was horrible. So I was able to speak to some of my teammates in French at one point. And then I came home that summer, went back to the banking, did well there, still played basketball every day. So I was playing basketball like 7 days a week, and still just working on my craft. And then I got my next contract. This time I was in Spain. And so I ended up playing all over Spain, the north and the south. Madrid, Barcelona, Alicante, all these different places. And then the people in the WNBA season, I got a call to play in the WNBA, and that's normally just 3 months. So there were people probably don't know, it's different than the men's season. So the WNBA season is only 3 months long, and it's usually after the overseas season. So girls usually play 10 months out of a year, maybe 2 months off. So compared to a man who can play just 7 months, and then they have the rest of the time off. And they don't have to go overseas. Hence, Brittany Griner, she was in Russia. I actually was trying my best to get to Russia because Russia is the highest paid country to play in. It's very hard to get into Russia. And she was just doing her normal season. She'd been doing it for about 8-9 years, so making $1 million, so it's a difference. A lot of people ask me that debate, should women get paid the same as men? Me being in money, who deal with money all day, I see the reasoning why, because it's a business. People look at sport as fun. It's fun, but at the end of the day, it's a business, especially when you get at the professional level. When you get at the professional level, they get money to pay you based on sponsors and people who's watching your games and people in your seats. So if they're not having people watching these games or people in their seats, then of course that reflects in pay. But still, $130,000, $150,000 for 4 months of work still isn't a bad living. I mean, it just isn't. And so I did that back and forth. And in between there, I got married some type of way. In between there, I also had a lot of free time. And so I got my master's then too. And so I called my college and they offered me a discount, and I asked them, I said, hey, I'm in another country and this is where I do. I said, is there a way that I can do this particular master's degree online, semi-online? And so they were able to work it out with the professors where they talked to me. It was all before Zoom and all that. So I was able to do some type of video conferencing, and then every time I went home, I took all my tests. And so 2 years later, I was able to get my master's degree. I also went to a school there. It's called the University of Huelva, and it was actually a lot of different foreigners in there, and we're just learning more advanced Spanish as well. And so a lot of time in Spain, enjoyed it. So it's a difference than just being a tourist and compared to living there. So I was actually living there. But I enjoyed it, the going back and forth, but it wears on you. I tell people it's sacrifice. I was very organized. I always knew I needed to do something else. I always was preparing for the next steps. I always was making sure my job was lined up when I came back home, making sure any other opportunities they wanted me to do. Because in my mind, I was going to be a manager at this job when I finished playing. But then again, I thought I'd play for 15 years. You just never know what your life is going to go. And so when I finally made the decision to leave, my agent was like, are you sure you still can play and all these things? And even my husband at the time was saying, are you sure that you want to leave? Because he said, I'm not making you, I'm not telling you, because he knew if I had to pick between basketball and him, I'd pick basketball. And so he knew that. And so he didn't make me make that choice. But I said, yeah. I said, I want to start a family. I want to be here, because you have to realize you miss a lot because they don't have the same holidays, 7 hours ahead. So I would stay up to 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning just to talk to all my friends and family stateside. And then they didn't celebrate Thanksgiving. They didn't have Black Friday. They didn't celebrate. I missed 7 to 8 straight Black Fridays. I didn't even know what Black Friday was when I first came home, my first winter. And so it was just so many things you miss. So it's like a fantasy world in a way. And but there's a lot of lessons too I learned, and wouldn't trade it for anything. And so when I finally made the decision to leave and I started working, and I went back to the same bank that I've been at, and then I saw that they had a job opening for a manager. And I said, oh, I can do this job. I said, I've been here. I got excellent marks. Everyone likes me. Everyone knows me. I got all these degrees. I can speak Spanish, all these things going on. And then I applied for the job, and I think they told me it was a guy. And I think he had a high school degree or something, and been at the bank like 5 years. And then we both interviewed for the job, and he ended up getting it. And I think I was just such in shock and just dismayed. I'm like, how did I not? And I think at the time the job was like maybe $35,000, $40,000 a year. I mean, it's good money, at that time. But I was like, what am I doing? And I came home and I was like, I'm done. I'm done with Arkansas. I'm done. And then after that day, I started applying. And then I started applying for jobs only in Texas. And so then I got hired, investment banker, then just went on from there. But I look back and I'm like, God doesn't make mistakes on things. You know, everything I've done in my life, there's reasonings and there's a reason why it happened. Sometimes I can't see it, but sometimes it's immediate. But I knew, just imagine if I would have gotten that job. You know, would I have ever left? I doubt it, you know, because I would have just made and Arkansas is very easy living. I mean, the taxes are low. I mean, there's not a lot to do there, so most people just do the same thing around the same people. And so Texas, I moved to Texas not knowing a soul, not knowing anyone. And then I had to make an identity, had to figure out how can I make it? How can I get people to know me? And I do it the best way I can. The only way I know how is with sports. And so I started by going to gyms and talking trash, meeting guys, getting to know where they work and getting to know who they know and getting introduced to this person through that way. And then it just took on from there. I work at Morgan Stanley now, which is one of the largest investment firms in the world. So we manage, I don't know, maybe $4 or $5 trillion. Have a lot of great financial advisors, not a lot of black women, so very few and very like an anomaly as far as you having a black woman to manage your money. I try to change that stigma because I try to make people see that black women can manage money too. Matter of fact, we're probably very, very good at it because we do it in our daily life now. But trying to get people to trust you with your money, that's the task. How can I do that? And so a lot of times I can do it by just being me, tall, and basketball, usually the conversation piece or a conversation starter. And then I go into normally what I do. But I feel like I'm very blessed that I've got to do two careers in my life that I felt like I never had to work. I feel like this is what I was born to do, play basketball and talk about money. And so I don't look at it as I'm going to my job every day. I'm getting integrated in people's lives and become part of their family in a way. Because a lot of people call me if anything happens, such as someone gets married, a baby, they changing jobs, buying a house, retiring, they're calling me. And they should, because I'm the one usually giving them advice on what they should do and different trinkets like that. So I thoroughly enjoy it. I feel like I'm good at it. And I plan on doing it probably for the next 30 years. So that's a little bit about me. I live in Garland, and I'm 6'1". Usually wear my heels, so it makes me 6'4". I had two brothers, one 6'10" and one 6'6". Neither one of them played sports, just me. My mom is tall too, she's 5'8", so that's the reason why we're all so tall. I still go back to Arkansas quite often. My mom's there, my dad's in Houston, and so I want to be right in the middle, right between the two. Love animals, got 2 dogs, and yeah, that's pretty much me. But when dealing with money, I love it because there's a stigma with black people that we're not good with money, we don't take care of our money. And I wanted to change that stigma. I came from a little town, like I said, in Arkansas, where I see people and grandmothers and grandpas work 30 and 40 years for a company. And then when they get through, they tell me that they're on a fixed income or all they have is their Social Security check. And I'm like, what happened? Like, what happened in that conversation that made you not understand a 401k or not trust a 401k or not put enough money into a 401k? A lot of them were scared to ask. A lot of them didn't want to be made stupid saying their questions. And a lot of times the white financial advisor talk above your head. And they make it where all you do is nod your head and you don't understand anything that they're saying. And so I want to change that, where people can ask me anything. And it's in a room where they feel comfortable. And they'll change it, because if you change something, your kids are going to be watching what you do and you're going to want to change it. And so generational wealth is very, very important to me, because I believe that black people have just as many chances as white people, and we can have just as much wealth. We just got to know where to start and what to do. You got to start somewhere. Morgan Stanley offers pretty much everything you can think of as far as money. We're a full service. So we help people with mortgages. We help people save for kids, grandkids, life insurance. Life insurance is very big. Knowing the difference between term and permanent insurance. Cost-wise, it's just a lot of things that we kind of deep dive into. It's very personalized, so what I talk to you about might be different than what I talk to the next person about. Everybody's different because everybody has different goals. I've talked to people that worked all their life and they want to leave money to their family. Or have people who tell me that they want to spend the last check that they write before they die. They want it to bounce because they want to spend everything that they had because they worked hard for it, which is their right. And so I try to make sure I get to the nitty-gritty on what you want, and I try to make that happen, especially for your kids too, because if something was to happen to you and they inherit it, I want to make sure your kids don't get this money and just have a field day and blow it in 1 year. Then all your hard work is gone out the door. And so we do a lot of conversations, a lot of milestones. When people have milestones, anniversaries, things like that, I try to make sure I'm on top of that, and different trips that I'm included, because most of the time you need money for them. But I enjoy it. I'm gonna stop right here. What questions does people might have?
Well, I have a question. I will start off with the first question. So I know that you had is there a slide that you wanted to show or anything?
Yes, I think he's gonna show some of the services and everything,
Okay.
and also can make sure everyone can get a copy too.
Okay. So the very first question I had was, where do you start? Where does it start? If you are if you're not a billionaire or a trillionaire and you're just that average everyday person going to work, where do you start with investing when you say you want to call a financial advisor and invest? I think that our culture believes you have to be Bill Gates or you have to be a big millionaire or something like that. But can you just talk to us for that everyday person that's just a working Joe or Joanna?
Yeah, everyone needs a financial advisor, so don't get caught up in the stigma that you need to be rich to have one, because everyone has questions. And then the worst thing I hate is when someone who has questions, they start asking someone who really don't know themselves, and they give them this bad advice, and it just spreads like wildfire, and this person tells somebody else, and then we're just passing around so much misinformation. So you have to find someone you trust. And then you have to not be scared because sometimes you got to just lay it all out on the line. If you're going through a divorce, I've had people who are trying to hide money from the other spouse. I have people trying to pay their mistress or pay their, it's whatever situation you got going on. You got to tell me so I can figure out how to help you. And then from there, I tell you, then we just go about our day. But finding someone you trust is very key, because a lot of advisors have minimums. They have minimums, and they say they're not going to work with you unless you have a certain amount of money, or you got to have a certain amount invested or saved. I personally didn't want to do that approach because I know people got to start from somewhere. So if you're trying to tell me that you're trying to save $10,000, okay, how much do you have saved now? All right, how much do you have left over after you get through paying all your bills? All right, this is what we're going to do. If you can increase it or if you get bonuses, then we're going to put it in there. But we're going to start from somewhere. If you want to invest in a certain stock, like Nike or Walmart or Target, then I try to make sure I can fit that into your portfolio. If you don't know anything about stocks or investments like most people, then I'll tell you, I'll pick them for you, and then you can just follow along on the app or online. So starting from where you start depends on you. It depends on what you're trying to do, how much you have, or how much you want to have. And then we just create a plan. So financial plans are important.
Hello.
Hi.
I have some questions about thrift savings plan. I lost a little money.
Are you talking about recently?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I've always had it, I thought, divided sensibly. But when I look at I think I lost the most in the C fund. I'm not sure. But I mean, I want to be able to be smart enough to see this coming. I know everybody lost. I know I wasn't the only one. But I don't want to keep losing when the economy goes down, I didn't do anything. I haven't touched it in a while.
We look at a lot of people's 401ks or thrift savings plans. I have a lot of post office workers and things like that. And you're right. Are you retired? Oh, okay. So on that, a lot of times we try to take people's, like if you're retired, really no one's really managing your money. Right. So when you're working, Or sometimes people keep their money too conservatively. In TSP, a lot of times they put them in those government type funds or the money market type funds. And I try to tell people, stop being so conservative. A 401k is really not meant for you to go bankrupt, for you to go lose all your money. You're gonna lose some money, but not as much as you would like in the market. And so you probably are too conservative right now. So when the market comes back up or coming back up, you could actually be gaining more probably than what you are, probably because you're too conservative. So pretty much rebalancing it, looking at your options, maybe taking it out of there is probably a better possibility than what you're in now. Because if you're not working for a company anymore, then no reason for your money to be still at that company. Because you got to look at it as life. If you're not working for them and contributing to them, what makes them think they're going to have your best interests at heart or your money? And most of the time they don't. So I would consider possibly moving it or changing the investments with it. So, and overall, I think you'll get a better outcome. But I'm down 25% in my 401k. So I hate looking at it, but I know it's going to come back up. I know. It is. But yeah, it's not a good picture to see. You definitely don't want to ever lose money.
Oh, I think we have a question over here. All right. I'm going to try and go. Did you have a question? Okay, I'm going to start here because I got here first. And then I'm going to come over there, okay? All right.
What is a 401k?
A 401k? Okay, so when you start working a job, and you could be pretty much any job, even if you're young, if they offer benefits, so if they say benefits, it's normally retirement money and insurance. And so you always want to get in it. Never say you're not going to get into it. Because a lot of time they match you money, meaning if you put in $5, they might give you $5. You put in 10, they might give you 10. So anytime there's a chance for you to get free money, you should put money into it. So you always should know how much they're matching. Some jobs usually do 3, 4, 5%. And really, like big companies, sometimes they do dollar for dollar. If you have a company that do dollar for dollar, you need to put in as many dollars as you can. Or some companies even double it. The city of Garland, those employees, they double. And so and that's how you're going to retire. So, I mean, you're not going to retire for another, 40 years. However, you're going to want to retire one day. You don't want to work forever. And so there's a program that companies set up for incentivizing you for being there. And it gives you a chance to save for retirement. The goal is not to touch it and not to take money out of it until you retire. So when you retire, you have this big pot of money. So just imagine you started when you're 20, 21 years old, and you've been putting money in for 40 years. I mean, theoretically, you're supposed to have a big amount of money to retire, right? Along with Social Security. So that's how it's supposed to work. It sounds simple, but you'll be surprised at how many detours we take along the way. But that's how it's supposed to work.
All right, I think we have a question here.
So how do you build credit to invest in it?
What'd you say?
Building credit to invest in it?
How do you build credit?
To invest into it.
Okay. So you don't necessarily have to have credit to invest. You just have to be 18. Well, your parents can start you an account younger if you want to. But to build credit, you need to start off with something like a credit card and use it responsibly. I know a lot of people talk negatively about debt. Debt isn't always bad. You need debt in order to grow your credit score. You need revolving debt, such as a mortgage, cell phone, a credit card, a car payment. You need those things, and you pay them on time, and then that builds your credit. So you should start off with something small to build it. Some parents add their kid on as a co-signer of things, and they pay the bill, and so that also builds their kids' credit. And so just gives them a start on life. But I think the highest credit score you can get is 900. Is good to get, if you can try to get a credit score of 700 or better, that helps you out on interest rates, on cars, on mortgages, and everything else that you're trying to get. So credit is like like cash. So you want good credit just as much as you want cash.
So how do you manage your money now that inflation and stuff is going up, as far as gas, rent, stuff like that, stocks?
A budget. A budget is good. I'm old school. Like I get all confused on electronics and technology, so I like to write stuff down. So I have like a little spreadsheet, and I write down everything: phone, gas, mortgage, utilities. I write down everything, and I write down when I get paid, how much I'm gonna get paid, when, and then I also put myself. I'm gonna pay myself. So just like I would my mortgage or my car note, I pay myself as well. And so that way, I'm not trying to have fun, then whatever left over, then I'm gonna put it towards myself. No, I'm doing it like I would any other bill. And so I just write it all down. And so I'm also tracking how much I spend, how much money I have left over. So I try to tell people to write it all down, because you'll kind of see, am I spending too much on certain things? Do I need to change this cable provider? Do I need to get rid of Hulu or Netflix? Do I have all these things? And a lot of times people don't even know what they're spending, because they've been doing it for so long, because that auto debit, I hate auto debit sometimes, and it just keeps on coming. And so before you know it, you didn't spend $100 or $200 on stuff that you didn't even need. So, but you gotta it's pretty much just keeping an eye on your money, which you always wanna do anyway.
Because you've been feeding her all the questions.
Nah, that's my baby sister. I just wanted to talk.
Oh, okay, okay. Because I could hear him, he was like, ask this, ask this. But you gave her some good questions. Mm-hmm. You did. He said he gave her some good advice, too. Anybody else have a question? All right, let me come to the front. Or you could, unless you want to talk real loud.
I would just have a question. When do you start pulling your money out your 401k? Before you retire or after you retire?
Well, if you need it before you retire, but if you're under 59 and a half, you know you're going to get penalized. So you try to avoid the penalty as much as possible. And then, of course, any money that you take out, you're going to get taxed on. And so you got to take that into consideration, too. So it just depends on the need. Before you're 59 and a half, you get penalized, a 10% tax. So you get 10% tax plus the tax on that. So it can be very costly. So that's why when we talk to people about it, before they try to take money out of the IRA or 401k, especially if they're under 60, we try to figure out alternative ways or things that they cannot, might not need to take it out, or if they wait on this, or if they take money out of their 401k, because you can take a 401k loan and just pay yourself back, and you don't get taxed. So there's a lot of different things that people can do that a lot of times people don't know that they can do, and we try to just enlighten you so you can try to save money as much as possible. Because taxes, nobody likes to pay taxes. 59 and a half. Are you retired? I think he had a question, Rocky.
Got a question
Are
back
you
here?
retired? Okay.
All right, I'm coming.
Oh, you're young to retire. Oh, goodness. Yeah.
Can you speak more on whole life policies and universal life policies? I believe those policies will benefit people more with their money, because you can't get taxed on those policies. Can you talk more about that? Like this lady here was talking about moving her money from out the 401k, because you get taxed on that because interest rates keep going up. And on that, she can take that money and move it to one of those policies and borrow against it and will never have to pay interest on it. Can you talk more about that?
I can. Insurance, it depends. Insurance is not always for everyone, because a lot of times they do have, it helps you sometimes, it gives you like a tax deferred. It can give you a tax deferred situation, but also it can sometimes regulate your money as well. There's usually term, and then there's a permanent insurance. Everyone knows what term is. Normally you can get a policy 10, 20, 15, 30. There's even some that do 35 or 40 years, very few companies. And you pay a premium, and then once that year amount, then it's over. A lot of times if you keep it the whole time and you try to renew it, then of course it's probably gonna be 3 times as much, because you're older and they're gonna do more blood work. Some people are on medicines and just all type of stuff. And so that's why we try to encourage you to get a permanent policy, like a whole life, a universal life. There's veritable products as well. Sometimes these products can be a little bit more costly, because you're going to be getting a cash value as well. So as you pay your premium or so forth, then a certain amount of money is going to be set aside in your cash value. Now, if you just roll your money into one of these insurance vehicles. A lot of times they refer to those as annuities or another type of form of insurance. It depends. Everybody is different on what they need on this. I try to steer people away sometimes because of the cost effect. Then sometimes you only can get a monthly amount of money. Sometimes your beneficiaries are regulated. But sometimes people want those things. Sometimes they want just a regular monthly amount of money. They want a tax shelter. They want a deferred compensation into their money. So it just depends on the person. But I like permanent insurance. You pay for it, you pay your monthly premium, then you have insurance for life. So you get a death certificate. Sometimes you can increase it as well, and then you know that if anything ever happened to you, your beneficiary, you're going to have the death benefit, and then they're going to be fully covered. And so a lot of times in our community, we have to scramble up money to bury someone or bury a loved one or pay their bills or pay this house off or things like that. And so having insurance or insurance that works for you can also be very beneficial to your loved ones. And so I'm a pro insurance all the way.
While I wait for the next question, I have one. Let's say you're starting college and you're new to this, right? You're going to campus. You've already talked to us about how you could possibly build your credit. But let's talk to that college student, that person that we can start having their money work for them instead of them work for their money, just even as a college student.
Oh my goodness, all the credit card vendors that come after you when you're at college. I think I probably had like 3 or 4 credit cards for no reason and didn't have a job. And I'm like, but they get you when you're young. But credit cards to me are still not bad. You just got to be mindful and know what you're doing with them. A lot of college students have a work study job, or they have like a little job or something on the side. I always say, try to, just like you would pay tithes or something, pay yourself. Pay yourself the same way, because a lot of times kids, they spend money on frivolous things. Things are, like you said, inflation, and things are a lot more expensive now. So a lot of people are not driving around as they normally would, or if they're driving around, their gas is not going as far as it normally would. But if you're still going to be driving around and doing those things, I try to tell people to be mindful of your spending. So don't do all the frivolous driving. Eating out is just as expensive. Try to eat at home. But also put money into an account and try to learn not to touch it, because that teaches you money management as you get older. Because if you're bad with money, bouncing checks or going into the negative, sometimes that goes into when you get older. So learning budgeting and learning how to manage your money at a young age, even if it's a little amount, can take you a long way. And you know how to survive also.
So is it possible you talked about stock. So let's say you are that college student. Okay, no, we probably can't afford Apple. We probably can't afford Exxon, these major corporations. But there are some startup companies that now when you look back, you look at Google, you look at Facebook, you look at some things that they probably started off with small amounts. Would you advise people to, maybe try and buy some stock?
Yeah, they have a lot of platforms now for younger adults or kids. The Acorn, Robinhood. I forgot then the different things with the cryptocurrency and all this other stuff. There's no telling which ones are the best, because a lot of them do the same things. But one thing I like about them, they allow you to buy fractional. So if Google is $3,000 a share, you might only have to pay $50 for it. So it gives you lesser exposure, so lesser losses, and it kind of lets you understand how the market goes. So the ups and downs in the market times. So I think it's a great educational piece on that standpoint. And so I try to tell people that, yeah, you should start off with buying. I mean, especially if you're giving money to a company already. So if you go to Walmart all the time, your cell phone is with AT&T, you buy Nikes all the time or Under Armour, then why not own some of the company? So why not save and own some of the company, and they can pay you dividends? And so I think that's essential too, to know where your money is going and how you can get some of it back. But yeah, there's a lot of stocks and mutual funds and things that are $5, $10, $15. So you don't have to buy things that are thousands of dollars each time. And then, I mean, all you need is one stock or one thing, and you have a portfolio. So you got to start your portfolio somewhere. So the crypto and Bitcoin craze, it's non-regulated. So we buy it for some clients. You gotta meet a lot of certain requirements and things like that. But we're still not someone saying, oh, you should put all your money into this or put all your money into that, because I tell people, if I can't go into Walmart and go and spend it, then to me it's still not where I need to be. But a lot of people like it. It gives you another bucket. It gives you an alternative for investing. We don't know really what's backing it. We don't know how it's really doing. We see the numbers, but it can go up or can go down drastically. But I tell people, if you're going to put it in there for fun, like fun money, 10% of money, $500, $100 here or there, just to see how it works. But a lot of people don't understand it, so it makes it's kind of difficult, kind of like an NFT, those things that people are selling, their digital signature, digital footprints. Like, how do those work? And that's a whole nother, just people just making money in this digital space. So if you really like technology and things like that, then a deeper dive into that can be another conversation. But for me, I'm not so much technology, so I leave that up to them. But I do have a lot of clients who buy it, and they have some of it in their portfolio.
I was just wondering, because my brother, he investing in that crypto, and he was asking me to do it, and I was like, I don't understand. If I don't understand something, I'm not going to invest my money into it.
Right. And that's a good lesson. If you don't understand it, then why invest in it? Or if you're going to invest in it, don't put a large amount. Just put a little bit, just to see, you can see how it go, and if you like how it perform, then put more in. But if not, then I would get out.
So what would be your basic budget? Because I've heard where some people say save 30% or have 20% go to this area, 20%. What would you think be like the basic budget if you want to save?
There's really no, like you said, amount. It depends on how much money you have. So everything goes back to how much money you have and how much your bills are. Because if you're making $2,000 a month and your bills are $1,800 a month, then, still got $200 of wiggle room, and then how you want to spend that $200. So that is where I tell people, put into the budget, your written budget on paying yourself. And you start off small, and then see how much money you have left over each month. So start off with $50 or $100, and then you build on it from there. The goal is to build and not pay the same amount to yourself every month or every year. And then before you know it, then you got thousands of dollars, and that's how it started, not touching it. So I would say put on your budget a line item to pay yourself, and then that way, and start off small, and then you'll be able to see how does it affect you. So start off with $100, $200, and see, does you still have leftover money at the end of each month? Then okay, then you might can increase it a couple of months down the line. So you don't want to burn yourself out and have to borrow from it, and you get into that habit, you'll see how easy it is to borrow from yourself, and you keep doing it. So you want to get to a point where you don't even touch it, out of sight, out of mind.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Janae.
Hey.
So, Janae is actually my financial advisor. And so when 2020 hit, first of all, my wife introduced me to Janae, so that's why I know Janae. But she's my financial advisor. So when 2020 hit and the market had crashed, I actually looked at my portfolio from her, and it was down. We talking like 100 grand, just. And so, I would call her like most people do every other day. Hey, what's going on, with my thing. But she educated me on a lot of stuff about the market and the trends and everything. And the funny thing about her, she had told me, well, do you call Fidelity? Because I have a 401k. Do you call them like you call me? And I was like, nah, but you know what? I'm gonna start looking into it. Mm-hmm. And I looked into the 401k, and they had my money going places, and it really wasn't doing anything. So I did change some of the funds that I actually put it in. And once 2020 kind of hit, you know, the market had went up and everything, and then they got the money back, so it wasn't like a loss. I mean, so what I've learned in these last 2 years, it goes up, it goes down. You know, like people would say, like my father's generation always said that, oh, you don't play the stock market, you just kind of lose money in there and it's worth some money. But you know, like, there's a lot of rich people around here that buy stocks. So it can't be as bad as they say that it is. But I think people, even when I started getting a little more into it and I would tell my friends about it, the first thing people would say is like, well, can you help me? And because I don't want to lose no money. Okay, so you have to get this out. You're going to lose money. That's just the bottom line. There's going to be points in your investment where they're going to be down. Like right now, it is down. It is a down across the board for everybody. As for the rich people and everything. So you imagine Cathie Wood, when Tesla dropped, she got like $50 million invested in shares of that. So when you talking about you done lost maybe 50 or 100,000, she's lost billions of dollars, okay? She don't see her out there crying and panicking over it because eventually she knows the market is going to come back. You know what I'm saying? And what I've learned is that when the market goes down, that's the opportunity to buy. That's when you should be buying the stock because it's going to go back. I give you an example. Exxon was down $30 when 2020. So I bought some shares. Exxon went up to $100. It was just up to $100. So you figure if you got 500 shares, $30, and it goes to $100, you're doing good. So I was one of the people running around here when the gas was going up because I bought them and Chevron under $100. That went up to $180. So I'm like, let the gas go. I don't care if it goes to $10. And I would tell my wife when we go to the gas station, we going to Chevron or Exxon. I am a part owner in those companies, and I'm going to buy them. So I got my kids to buy the stock, and I tell them, like she was saying, you know, if you're gonna go out and spend $300 or $400 on some nonsense, if they got a stock, you might as well buy the stock. Spend your money where it's actually going to grow. But one of the stories she had motivated me with was she had someone, the teacher. This teacher, 20 years, all she would do is buy Apple. That's all she would do. She would just buy Apple for 20 years. So Apple done had like 7-to-1 splits, 4-to-1 splits. You know what I'm saying? She's a millionaire. All she did was just buy a couple Apple shares every month. She got like, what, 12,000 shares now, just because of the splits. You know what I'm saying? So, and the other thing is about the 401. I started putting more money in the 401k because like even right now, the market is down. So that means your shares are down. So that means your 401k that buying the stocks, you're buying it at cheap shares at this moment in time. So eventually it's gonna go back up. It always does. And you wanna be on that upswing. It's just like when I did the gas stock, because I was on the upswing and my gas stocks were over 100%, you know, as far as profit was concerned, I sold some of the stock and I bought Amazon and Google because I knew Amazon and Google was going to do the split. Matter of fact, Google is splitting this week. It's going to split on whatchamacallit. Now, with that being said, about losses, I'm at a loss with Google and Amazon right now, you know, but I'm not worried about it. Those stocks has been up to $2,000 and $3,000 a share. Eventually, they're going to go back up. You just have to be patient and just wait. You know, you got to wait it out and learn to buy it. And you have to pay attention. You got to pay attention to news because what drives stuff is just news. It's just like when she was talking about the Bitcoin. I'm with her on that. I mean, you don't know what that's going to do. But sometimes it doesn't matter. If you just get in, ride it, make some money, get out. you don't really care what, what it does. You're in there just to make money. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole point of actually doing it. You know, if someone's talking about something and they make it go up, I don't care why it went up. I just want to ride it when it go up. And then when I see it start dropping, then I sell it. But then you have some stocks like the Apple and the gas stock, Microsoft and all that stuff that you should invest in because you have to have the blue chip stocks. When I had bought Apple before it split, when it split, I stayed in the red. It was in the red for about 8 months. But then, all of a sudden, it turns around. It just turned around, and then it just started going up, then you get a green. So I've learned you have to play the waiting game. And when you see stocks, I don't want to take too much time, but when you see stocks going down, like when you see stocks like you be losing money, Apple go, you know they ain't going out of business. You know Apple ain't going out of business. You know the gas stations ain't going out of business, so the stock is down. They're not going out of business. These companies are still billion-dollar companies. Apple's a trillion-dollar company. Who cares when the stock is down low? It's going to go back up. You just got to wait it out and get in on the time when it's low. So like I said, right now is a good time to buy the stock. And if you think the stock is low now, you didn't see the stock in 2020. The stocks in 2020 was way lower than this. So imagine that after they did all the shuts down. But good financial advisor, though.
Yeah, savings isn't fun. I tell people it's not anything sexy or anything about it. It's consistency. Doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to get the results. You're just going to. And also on your point, the market is, even though the market is down, there's also funds and things that aren't. There's things that can be bought that is gaining money. But if you're not being professionally managed or anything, they're not going to be able to find that for you. So you're going to stay in the same thing and you're going to keep on getting the same results. And so sometimes change is good. Mm-hmm.
And I will tell y'all, I live with this man, and at one point I asked him, are you stalking Janae? Why do you call her all the time?
I like informed people. He's one of, like, I deal with a lot of range of clients. Some people who don't know a thing on what's going on. I mean, they don't even know where I work. They just know Janae's financial. They don't even know where I work. So many people say JP Morgan. I'm like, I just don't correct them sometimes. I'm like, yeah, we're just going to go with it. They just know I'm their financial advisor. But then you get people like him, and I have others that, you know, they're on top of it. They do a lot of their own investing, and then they stay with what's going on with the world and different change and different splits, and that's a good thing. So that means that they have a possibility of losing less than most people because they're aware. So they're all type of investors. You figure out where you fit in, and then we just go with it.
These emails out. She sends these emails out about like the CDs and stuff like that. So she sends these emails out about these CDs. So I'm looking at the email. I'm like, it says 1.5. I'm like, what am I gonna do with that? So basically, what happened? So it was the CD. So let's say I have $5,000 and I put it in the CD. It gets me 1.5, so that's $75, right? $75. And I was like, what am I gonna do with $75? I said, I took 5, I bought one stock, a share of Google, one Amazon. And now I will tell you, I am down $300-something, but I know I can get 75 before the end of the year. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying about staying on point in time. But what she's saying is, what I've seen and seen on the internet and talked to people, your checking account is not a storage place. Okay, check-ins and savings account, they're not storage places. They're not making your money when it's sitting there. You're not making money. You know who makes money off of your money? The bank. Mm-hmm. The bank. So I took $5,000 and I bought a share in Amazon, and Google. So I said, I don't need the CD. I'm not one of those people. But if you're one of those people who just like to let your money sit there, you might as well let it sit somewhere where it can actually make a little money, because it ain't making no money in your checking or savings account at all.
Preach that to me. So does anybody else have any questions. There's one thing that I've always asked, and me and my husband debate this all the time. So I got the professional expert that went to school for it, okay? So my question is, like, when I hear him talk about, and I will tell y'all, back in 2019, 2018, it wasn't like me and my husband were these stock people, and I mean, he learned it. You know, it's something that he got interested in. He met Janae, and it took off from there. So we weren't those people. But I always talk to him, and I want to ask you, and maybe other people got this question too. So we hear all this money that people make in the stock, right? You hear about that teacher who bought that Apple stock and all this money she makes. So should people take that out? Because people always say, well, you make all this money in the stock, you know, well, why can't I take that out? Why can't I go spend it? I want to go buy a new car. Or sometimes I'll tell my husband, I say, okay, so all this money is sitting there and we're not using it. We just looking at it. Yeah. And he's like, no, that's not how this works. It's not like a checking account or a savings account. So can you speak to that as far as when people hear people making money on the stocks, or we hear that you want to use your retirement money and let's say that investment grows? What are the downfalls or the pluses when people want to take that out and start using it and living on it now?
It depends on, first of all, which account is in. So if it's in a retirement account or if it's in a taxable account. So if it's in a retirement account, when you take money out, it's only going to be, as long as you're over 60, you're only going to be taxed on what you take out in your tax bracket. Now, if it's in a taxable account, that means that if you bought Apple and Google 20 years ago and you have a 200% gain on it and we sell this particular stock, then you're going to get taxed on all those gains, and then all that tax is going to hit you. So that's where you need someone to be able to, because the best time to sell something is when you're down. And if you need money, then we're going to go into your portfolio and get all the things that's in the red, and we're going to sell those, because then you're not going to be taxed. You're actually going to get a credit back because you lost money. And so you need to figure out how you need to navigate. Now, if you got green on everything, which is a plus, that means you're making money and everything. But then if you take money out, then you're going to be taxed on it. A lot of our clients had a lot of, in 2021, a lot of them had a lot of taxable events because they made so much money, had a 30-40% rate of return year. But by having such a great year, that means you're going to have to pay taxes on it. When you get over, they changed the age to 72. So when you get over 72 now, if you have money in your retirement, you mandatorily have to take out a certain percentage. And so you're going to get taxed on that amount of money that you have to take out. Me and Marcus talked about that. You got to take out money. Like, why the IRS making you take? I said, they got to get their money. How are they going to get their money? Yeah. Right. So that's how the IRS that's how they get their money. So they're going to get their money. And so we kind of navigate people on what's the best situation. And our biggest thing is taxes. I mean, taxes cost people lots of money because it becomes like a bill. So we try our best to figure out ways to eliminate or reduce your taxes as much as possible.
Well, I want to say thank you on behalf of Community Missionary Baptist Church. Although we're not going to be live anymore because our session is ending, we have no problem waiting a few minutes, if you don't mind, just in case we have some people in the audience that have a few more questions. But we want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, and we've learned today. Bye, everybody.
Thank you all for coming. I hope you learned something, but feel free to ask any other questions.
And do you have